Radio Cayman.
The voice.
The heart. The soul of the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Wow, what a beautiful, thankful, almost tireless Thursday. Aniki Hill is in the studio. We're going to get some poetry. We're going to get deep, resounding, pensive, provocative, stimulating. It's going to be good. It's going to pretend like you're in the rain and you're running around with nothing on but your shirt. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Join us for what is going to promising to be a tantalizing Thursday. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. And Royal Fidelity Bank and Trust, money at work.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thank you for joining us. And thanks too. I say this all the time, but I'm eternally grateful that you will take time and listen. And sometimes repeat and remind me of how important it is to feel the love. And so I trust and pray that you feel it every day. Well, in the studio, Ms. Aniki Hill. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. How you doing?
You know, Susan reminded me once that you're a poet and don't even know it. That's the best I could do. But sometimes the heart wants what the heart wants.
Mm.
And I think through you sometimes, whether it's your artistic expression and creativity on the canvas or whether it's the expressiveness, not enough was use that gifting and celebrate it in such a way that the rest of us can participate and can appreciate. And for that, we thank you and creatives like yourselves.
Thank you.
So maybe first off, I mean, what is it you think about you, before we get into all of the mix and the metal of all the matter, what is it that drove you to that creative side, and when did you realize that was you?
I don't know how to answer that one, Sterling. I don't know myself without it.
Okay.
You know, I think that's the place to start. My mom will tell you that before I was forming words, and I talked pretty early. I was humming tunes. Yeah, I mean, they did tell me that too, because that was always on my report card, talking too much.
Yours too?
So words have always been something that was pretty special to me. And but you know, the creative side, it's just very much a part of who I am. I mean, some people say it's genetic, but I believe that it's just a part of being human. I think everybody has some form of creativity. And it's so funny because my mom always talks about... She likes to say that she's not an artist. And it cracks me up, because if you ever walk into that woman's yard, you will definitely know that there's some creative work, creative hand at work there. So, you know, there's so many different ways of being creative. You know, people are excellent cooks, right? You know, they're people who are creative about how they feed others, and hospitality can be exercised in a very creative way. I just think that it's part of being human. And
I'm glad that you shared that, because I think, like Cayman Art Week, for instance, this next week, different reasons for different things, different motivations. Sometimes people have ulterior motives and hidden agendas, and we ascribe all sorts of things to reasons. But for me, poetry, language itself, any creative expression allows us to, one, maybe see, hear, feel, touch, and sense what the creator is trying to present. But it causes us to sort of reflect, and as well. Now, not enough of us have the courage, I would even say the compassion, to take the time and put it pen to paper, to sculpt in the garden, to go in the kitchen and mess about with a new recipe or tinkle on an old favorite. And yet you, and thankfully men like you, are doing that. So what causes that level of creativity that we all have to different degrees, but yet only a few like yourselves are willing to be courageous enough? Think of the photographer, for instance, who'll sit there endlessly waiting for that shot of that bird on the limb or that little insect. They know it's coming. They just have the patience and the resolve to stand there. But the rest of us will be, tomorrow maybe.
I think that's a loaded one too, because
Oh, you thought it was going to be easy?
Well, you started with a really good hint at what the answer could very well be, which is courage, right? I think courage is a very big part of it. One of the things that always happens to me whenever I present is that, and you can ask my husband this, I'll go home.
That sounds good, eh?
I'll go home and I'll be exhausted, completely exhausted, because I've just shared so much of something very, very vulnerable to me. At last week at the Roy Bodden Symposium, Dr. Ian Randall had a lot, he presented, and unfortunately we couldn't hear a lot of what he said, but he started to talk about the creative process and what happens when so many writers don't get published because of the act of handing over your baby to somebody else. That is an incredibly vulnerable experience. So I think vulnerability is a very big part of it. I think another thing that gets in the way of people and their expression of the thing that I think is part of being human is a capitalist approach to creativity. Like where we're taught that everything has to make you money. Like you can't spend time on something if it doesn't make you money, or if I'm not good, my art is not good enough to make me money. And that I think is it is a corruption of the relationship that we should be having to our creativity.
But also, I think it speaks to the fact that as societies, we value that person's output by how much they get, as opposed to allowing a person to exist and to create, knowing that there are other things that life need, food, shelter, and the like, can still be provided. Or even worse, we will say to that person who is doing this thing, oh, that's your hobby, or why you don't find something better
Get
to
a
do
real
your
job.
time? As opposed to recognizing. I mean, I look at some of my brothers, one of my brother-in-laws in particular, my father, and they're drawing, they're building boats, they're doing stuff. Maybe it's a model, maybe it's a working model, and we don't see the value in that, what it does for them, but also what it does for us.
So that takes me to the third part. The third thing that I think gets in the way of creativity and people expressing themselves is that there's often a snobbery around art.
Arrogance, snobbish sort of approach.
Well,
is arrogance there?
No, I don't know if arrogance is the word so much. I think it is a snobbery.
Snobbery. How do you spell that? 2 B's or one?
2 B's.
With an A or E?
With an E, I think. The snobbery of it.
E or Y?
But it's interesting because there is a snobbery around fine art in particular when you're looking at paintings and how much people can charge. Right? So, and I had this conversation, I think it was with Ali Banks years ago. Al was like, listen, man, you put how much you want to get on that. You price that for yourself. You price that for the value of what you put into that and what it's gonna. You don't let somebody else value your work. And Al has been very successful as an artist in building his portfolio and he's established himself very, very well. And it was an interesting thought because I noticed that when I look at pricing my art, because when you're creating art, it's one thing, but when you're actually going to price it and put it out there, that's a whole other thing. You know, it's a whole other, your mind has to switch. So a lot of artists have a lot of paintings piled up in a spare room in their house. Artists like myself. So once in a while, I just have to like do a real good conversation with myself and say it's time to let go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's time.
Like your babies, though.
They are your babies. And how much how much money would you take for your child,
After
right?
parents, they probably pay you to take us. This kid. My mom hear me say that.
But you know what I mean? It's like it's a very emotional process to release.
Mm-hmm. But that is part of what I think, you know, when we look at it. Too often, we say we're not going to let anybody devalue us, but we let them undervalue us in many respects. We bring much to the table. But from the creative outlet, it's not now only that we've developed across the globe this notion of intellectual property and being able to protect it. And people see, you know, all sorts of things happening. But it's worse, I think, from the extent that you could sell someone this tangible physical product for a lot more than it is worth, right? When they're competing one for a cent, does the job even better. Mm-hmm. But to give them this service, to give them this creative thing, right? They would hem and haw because, well, that's this.
How do you value it?
Yeah, how do you value it?
But you'd be surprised. The opposite is also true. Because somebody will walk into a gallery. Like I mean, Carlos Garcia. The Carlos Garcia gallery has this experience all the time. I have a couple of pieces there, and it depends on who that person is as they walk into that gallery and they look at this piece of art. And a person will actually have such a visceral response to a piece of art that they're like, that is going home with me tonight. And I don't know how much it costs, but that's going to be mine.
There's a Randa Shalat piece that I regret, you know, not purchasing when I...
Every one of us has a Randa Shalat piece that we regret not purchasing.
Oh my gosh, man.
I know this.
I honestly, in the snobbery that you speak of, which you speak, right? I love art. I love the creative process. To me, watching someone in that zone, whether it's a photographer, you know, getting that shot, whether it's in the kitchen and they're, you know, busily toiling, you know, over the stove, whatever that thing is, for me anyway, I get much out of it. And I remember once, you know, being in a space where looking around and I thought, I'm here because I want something out of this. And there's no level of pretense as I'm unfortunately perceiving from what's around, the snobbery as you reference. And I was standing there looking at something and, you know, someone came over and was, you know, giving me an artist sort of perspective and using all kind of nice fancy words. And I'm sure I could have read the brochure, and had I been able to recall it, I probably could have regurgitated the same. And the guy came up to me and said, nope, I was just in a bad mood when I painted that. Right? I just said the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, matter of perspective, but courage. This guy is, you know, carrying on like, you know, it's this, that, and the next thing. I'm thinking, really?
Yeah.
You know, it's like wine, right? You drink it because you like it.
Yeah, and you know, there are two ways to buy art, I believe.
Make somebody else pay for it to steal it? Oh, sorry.
No. No, I would never say that. I think there are two ways for a person to emotionally purchase art. One is to look at a piece of art and come up with your own, and this is where abstract work is particularly it's particularly relevant to abstract work. You expose yourself to that piece of art and it makes you feel something, and you don't even want to know the story. You already have your story with that piece of art, and that becomes yours. You have a relationship with that piece of art. You take that home with you. That's one way. Yeah, and then another way is to actually have the conversation with the artist, because sometimes the conversation around how that art was created. I have a piece that I did, and this is actually now at the Carlos Garcia gallery at the moment, that I was so angry when it was following a shooting that took place in the US. And you know, there are thousands of those to choose from, but there is a particular instance when I got into an argument with some of my redneck family from the US about this guy and how he was shot in cold blood by police. And I bled onto canvas the anger that I have, and it came out, and you know, I start out not knowing what I'm painting, and then it kind of evolves and it creates itself, and it ended up being the piece that I've now called, my brother named it Liberticia. She is a black statue of liberty, and in her hand is a Messiah spear, right? And it's actually at the Carlos Garcia
Muscovines, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty special piece to me. Yeah. So I haven't released that for a long time because it was such a special thing for me. And then the following, the painting that is right next to it is a painting about that I used to cool down. So after I got that all out of my space, all out of my business, all my anger came out on the canvas. I wanted to cool down. And how do you care for yourself? Because I think that this is something that a lot of people, particularly in the racial conversation, don't take responsibility for their own feelings. Yeah. Right? So it is really for us to make sure that we're healing ourselves. And this is something that I always stand by. So I took it upon myself at that point to just dump myself into real extreme self-care. I think I even had like a mask on my face. At the time, I had my hair in treatment. You know, I had
one of those avocado masks with a hint of Himalaya salt. Dash with. Did you use the oregano oil, or were you?
No, I don't even remember what this was. This is several years ago, but I remember just making myself a nice cup of coffee. And actually, no, it was in the afternoon. It was after I'd finished painting Liberticia, so I poured myself a glass of wine, and I painted the painting that is called The Cooling, because it was a cooling off. Yeah. And it has very cool colors, and there's actually a lady that's falling back into the water. It was an abstract piece to start with, but then there's a tiny little figure in the middle that is just falling into this vast ocean, and those are on display side by side. But on Saturday there will be a show at Mojo for a lot of my pieces that I've collected over the years that have been inspired by Cayman or my experience in Cayman. Yeah,
let's talk about that, because I think we fail to appreciate what is here. I am truly, truly blessed to live and work and be a part of this, and extremely grateful more now than ever to be able to see my country and to rediscover it again through the lens of others who have come anew, as it were. And that level of love and respect that I have for this place, unfortunately sometimes people see it and have this negative connotation. Oh, you have such national pride, and they ascribe words that I thought, but are those words good words? Why is it? Maybe we are in the last days when we hear bad is good and good is bad, but let's talk about Saturday evening. Let's get into this idea that we can truly appreciate who we are, where we are, irrespective of whence we cometh, how we can unify, come together, and be truly, truly, truly grateful for what is this country. Ms. Aniki, maybe we can delve into that. Your great intellect, your artistic creativity, your penchant for words, your eloquence will only imbue greater conversation when we return.
Sure.
All right. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
At Subway, we know a meal isn't quite complete without a side, and that's why we're introducing waffle fries. Subway's waffle fries are oven-baked softness with extra crispy edge, giving a satisfying taste to be enjoyed as is or in any of Subway's dipping sauces. Order waffle fries as a side item for $2 or make it a meal deal. Subway, eat fresh.
Want your kids to gain social skills, independence, self-confidence indoors? King's Sports Center Art of Fun Summer Camp is the solution. Make memories, learn new skills and life skills. Activities include basketball, football, dodgeball, arts and crafts, squash, drama, kids aerobics, bowling, and much, much more. King's Sports Center Art of Fun Summer Camp will be held from July 6th through August 6th. July 6th through August 6th. Monday to Friday from 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. Camp includes all activities, 1 lunch, and 2 breaks. For more information, call 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky. Your one-stop facility for fitness, recreation, relaxation.
Want to continue your education but don't have the money? UCCI has more than $100,000 in new scholarships, but you need to apply by July 16th. You may qualify for up to $4,000 per year, depending on your area of study. Several new scholarships are targeted at students with financial need. The money is there, but the deadline is approaching fast. Visit ucci.edu.ky/financial aid. Call 623-8224 or visit the on-campus one-stop center for more information.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks too for the likes of Aniki Hill for sitting with us. Maybe through our conversation, more of us will start to think deliberately, consciously, in a very pensive way to see where we are as, people, but what as a person we're doing and we could do better, maybe differently or not at all. Too many times I think we let life pass and we don't embrace it. And I say that knowing that I'm probably one that it's sort of leads that charge. We don't embrace it enough for ourselves, but you have, and through your poetry, through your paintings, and other prose, maybe you could share with us as you wish as we go through. But Saturday evening for the wider community, you have an exhibition.
I do on Saturday evening. It's so funny because we had it planned that I would be beginning an art show in July at Mojo. And it was a discussion that we had ages before I even knew that Art Week was coming up. But Art Week also starts next week, so they have a lot going on as well. But it coincides with our opening. But two things collided at the same like bumped into each other, in that I was invited also to participate in the Roy Bodden Symposium and provided Mr. Roy bucked me up in the supermarket.
I like that.
And says to me, listen, you better put something in there. I would be very displeased if you do not participate. Yes, sir. Got you. Done. But in 2021 has been a really active year, and rather than come up with something new, I realized that I actually had a treasure of poetry. I have hundreds of poems that I've written over the years, and I just went through the recent years and took a few of them and put them together. And I also had begun a few posts, and you may have seen these on going around this year, called Love Letters to My People. Love Letters to My People. Oh my goodness. I realized when I started to write those out, because I've been a writer for a very long time. I thought that I thought that I kept a journal from the time I was 12, but in clearing out storage recently, I actually found journals that I had from the time I was 9 years old.
So I've been writing 15 years ago.
Oh, bless you. Oh, all the compliments I get when I come to Radio Cayman. But I've always been a writer, and some of the stuff that has been in my journals have just been sitting there for years, and I don't even know that it's there because I don't often go back and look. So I went back and looked and found quite a lot, and decided, this may be of some value to someone else. But I also got very clear on several themes that have been going through my work and my writing, which have been like Cayman identity has been a very big one, because I think I, like a lot of Caymanians, particularly of my generation, we are like the transitional generation. You know, we were the children that grew up in the bush still, like kicking football down the road and losing shoes down in the swamp, and out in the bush all day. During the summer, it was like me and half of my cousins and 5 dogs, and they would call us in for dinner, wash us up before Mama came home from work. That is not something that happens today with young people. Not in the same way, but we were also the ones that were introduced to technology. Very young, we were the early adopters. I think they like to call us the older millennials, right? So the older side, the millennials are split into subgroups, and we are the transitional. And what I spoke with Shanda yesterday, Shanda and I were actually contemporaries. We were in high school at the same time, and we were talking about how we understand the perspectives of the baby boomer generation, and we also understand the frustrations of the Zoomer generation, you know, the Gen Z, and we almost have a really important role of translation. Yeah. Right. So, and not only that, but preservation. I think that we are very well positioned to hold on to the valuable things about what have made Caymanians.
So you're guardians of the culture almost.
Well, we can be. If we embrace it, if we choose to be that, we absolutely can be. Educators, certainly. I think all of us have a responsibility to guard and preserve, but also to develop what happens next, right? So I think it's a really active time for our generation to be able to participate in an effective way. But I say all this to say, on Saturday night, I at the symposium I shared
last Thursday, right? Last year.
Some of the gentler poems in my collection.
Gentler.
Yeah. But I always warn anyone who listens or sees my poetry. I wrote these for myself. I did not write these for anybody else. And I'm not going to edit them when I put them out into the world. And I cannot write honest love songs to my people if I don't cuss a little.
And if you're not honest with yourself, right? To that yourself, you're true, be told.
Yeah. See, but you know, Caymanians are salty people. You know, we the way that we communicate. Come on, you know what I mean.
Nope.
We are salty people, and we are interesting people. That we are full of flavor.
People don't get that they see the smile, right?
Yeah.
They believe they gotta push you, and then when you punch, anyway.
And I'm not going to whitewash the language around the way that I express this. So, you know, and when I say the language, I also mean the topics, because we talk about everything. When you go to anybody's granny's yard and go out underneath the trees and sit in the hammocks and talk, some of the things that come out.
What you learn.
Yes. Yeah.
See,
so, you know, that is what I would love the experience of Saturday night to be like. Okay. I would like to initiate the conversation using some of the poetry that I've collected over the years, and I'm really looking forward to who's going to show up.
It's something you've done, right? And that I know. I'm thankful for people like you, because almost vicariously I can live through you. And whereas I may be courageous in other areas, to put pen to paper, I still prefer that mode of recording. I'm always concerned that thing eventually comes out. And not that it's going to be taken out of context, but it's going to disclose, you know, and it's going to be used to abuse and harm those who come after me that I can't protect anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I look back to some of the things that I wrote over the time. Foolishly now I've discarded them because they were reflections on a time, on a people, on a certain, you know, perspective. But there's one Calypso song that I wrote. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I found it the other day just by chance. I think I know which box I've hid it in. And like the good Calypso, there must be a little bit of ambiguity in it.
Okay.
There must be a little bit of
double entendre.
Yeah, a little bit of suggestiveness. And I thought, no wonder teenagers were wild. But those are the things, right? So you've put it in. So maybe we'll draw courage from you to do the same. Get that journal. And record those things.
But you know, you say something funny, because that's something that Caymanians and Caribbean people in general have been very good at, right? Like tiptoeing around ticklish subjects and making them funny and all that. And one of the things that I noticed the other day, a friend of mine asked me, "Don't you have any love poetry?" And it was interesting, because I'm like, I don't do that.
No, sir.
I don't do that. I will write love songs to my people. It's almost as though there's something that that I fell into. I have a purpose and a relationship for the things that I write that are not. It's almost as though romance is almost like a secondary priority to purpose. And we all need love and all of that, and maybe that will change. You know, my husband may yet inspire me to write love songs and so on. But I don't know. It's not about that. You know, it's not even about that because
it's a different emotion.
It's a different relationship to writing too. You know, but I got very active in 2017 around my writing. I made a commitment to write a poem a day for a couple of months. Did pretty well. I'd actually done a whole year once, and it really was something that I feel kind of opened up a side of my brain that just makes it very, very easy. You know, like practice is something that you become very fluid at. But another thing that I've noticed in digging out all of my poetry is the relationship that my poetry has to my art. I you know, and I was painting around the same time as well. A lot of my art I sign and date, and you'll see that a lot of them are also in 2017.
It is something. I mean, you look at us being great storytellers. I recall fondly. I mean, I can probably recall some of the stories. We'll be in the evenings, sometimes going to bed, or should be going to bed. My father's spinning a yarn according to my mother. In the stories, I did the same thing for my children, right?
Yeah.
And there was one evening I was telling my son this story, and he was so captivated by it. I had to edit because that story took on a life of its own. He still remembers the premise of it, right?
Yeah.
It was going down the vein of almost like a romantic, you know, espionage kind of deal. And I look at this young fella, right, and where that thing was coming from, where that voice was amazing, right? My regret is not then jumping up and quickly starting to jot down, right? But he still remembers that to this day, and I'm encouraged by you. Maybe equally more of us will be inspired to do what you've done, whether a poem a day, or it may be it take us a month to do that poem, but we're working on it consistently.
Well, I'll tell you, I have a series of children's stories that my a very close family associate and I have been talking about and working on, but we haven't actually worked on it. We talked about this years ago. She must have been like 9 years old when we started to talk about it. But it'll be a very Caymanian series. I really just need some time to sit down and write.
Well, who knows? You may be blessed with some time on your hands in short order, and you never know. Do it. My daughter used to write, and unfortunately our education system does a poor job at looking at children and motivating, encouraging and nurturing them. And even though she was young relative to her peers, thankfully her vocabulary, her penchant for writing and her ability to write. I still see one where she wrote and illustrated, and it's a story of Sarah, and you know, there are a couple like that. The one with the monkeys. When you got a child that is still in single digits, right, and imaginary friends and all of that, right, and you see the language, and then when you get a child that is not yet, you know, a teenager, right, just early in double digits, still doing that and able to do that and still continue. We have a lot of creative flavor in our society. I'm hoping the Saturday evening, as you said, will come out. We'll celebrate.
Well, celebration is one goal of Saturday, and I really invite people into my own personal space to celebrate who they are.
Yes.
You know, a lot of my work has been around what it means to be Caymanian, what it means to be Caymanian today. I acknowledge that a lot has been lost. And there's a lot to gain as we move forward, right? So the complexity of the Caymanian experience in 2021 is something that I think, for the last 10 years really, is something that I'd like to focus on. One of the things, though, that I have gotten a lot of comments on around my writing, and this has been over the course of the last several months, has been that you're saying what we feel.
Yes.
And you're saying, and I actually... I'm getting to that point where I realize other people need to say how they feel. I am very good at using words and putting things together, but I would love to see, and it was something I remember. There was a situation, I can't remember what it was exactly, and this is the kind of conversation we would have at the dinner table, where some guy I grew up with got into a fight, right, at work or something. And I remember in the conversation at home, one of the things that was said to us is, this is what happens particularly to Caymanian men, is that we are so, they are so emotionally impacted. They're incredibly astute in reading the situation, but expressing themselves and particularly in a state of conflict is a difficult thing. So what they resort to ignorance, right?
And become ignorant.
Ignorance, right? And that's not, and that does not accurately reflect the value of who that person is. So one of the things that I've been talking with some of my associates about has been a need for us to actually get to the place where we have everyone writing, where we have people all over feeling empowered to write their stories. Something you said earlier, I just want to come back to as well. You were afraid that somebody would find the things that you wrote. That is a common barrier to writing. It's something that a lot of people stop themselves around. I remember, like, growing up, I had a little journal, and I remember trusting my family to not read my journal. Now, when I was about 30, my mother confessed that she would go and read my journals, and I lost my mind. But she managed herself as a parent incredibly well, because I had no idea until I was over the age of 30. Right? So one of the things that I encourage people to do when they're thinking about that being a barrier to them writing is consider the gift that someone finding that might be. I had the way that I got around that. When I started journaling, I lost my best friend when I was 14. She died. So I started to write, and that's when my writing really coalesced into a daily practice. I would write a letter to her every day to tell her how things went at school, how things were going in my life, what was going on in my head. After a couple of years, her name kind of dropped off and it became a journaling practice. But it then turned, I now have a niece, and I'm so interested in her reading my writing, because listen, that young woman she's 4 years old, that little girl, and she is absolutely brilliant, and she's tough as nails. And I cannot wait for her to then read my story in the next 40 years.
So let me ask then, with that in mind, do you, because that is your intent, this is going to be to her to read, and you're going to be recording history for her, so she'll have this journal. Are you editing language?
Excellent question. This is not, I'm not writing for her. That is a consideration that it could happen, right? And that's the way that I deal with the fear of it being discovered. I have also, so my writing is very much for me, but over the years there have been different thoughts around where this will end up. There have been different thoughts about why do I do it. There's been a lot. You kind of evolve in your relationship to your writing. So one of the things that I'm hoping to do and launch over the summer are lessons. I'm planning on doing several weeks of training on how to develop a habit around writing. And I have a full curriculum. I actually drew this up in like December. This curriculum has been sitting there, but I'm starting to see that this is something that is needed.
But I'm glad. I hope that you get there, because I think as you share that, just like the example of the Caymanian male, I can see myself in a situation. You push me, and irrespective of how much self-control you may have, that person gets under your skin at a certain point, and
you lose your words.
And a number of things will happen, and more than likely they're not going to represent who you are ordinarily. And depending on the circumstance and on the person, licks can flow, right? It's not what you intend. You're going to say things in a way that isn't what you would expect that you would normally do. And I think some people have understood that, and so it's like the two children in the playground, right? The teacher always, invariably, sees the response, never sees what triggered it. Right? So which child gets in trouble?
But a daily practice around this puts you in a position where you are able to you have practice around channeling your emotions, particularly those high flares, right? Those bursts. You have practice now around using words to get that out of your system. Emotions have to flow through your body. I have one of the ladies that trained me as a coach used to say, emotions are like gas, they pass. Right? Okay. And it's really never left my thoughts, because they are important. They're signals for us as to, how things are going. They're triggers in our body, but they need to pass. Right. So we can't hold them. We need to find a way to express ourselves, and you'd be surprised at the treasure trove that you come up with over the years.
Well, something that I'm probably now need to remind my daughter in particular, like she would have a journal she would write. And I hope that she believes me. I hope, more importantly, that I conveyed that she would believe that is hers. It is her space, her place. I have never, and I will never go and turn the leaves or not. If ever I'm cleaning the room and I find it, I will never open. And that's my commitment to her, but to myself. I think to what you share with your mother, and I'm asking other parents as well, how do we navigate it so that we leave that there, so that on one hand, you want to make sure your child is okay. Yeah. But on the other hand, you want to respect and, sort of preserve that level of confidentiality and privacy. Your mother's a phenomenal lady. I mean,
my mother's a gangster when it came to this stuff, though. You know what she said?
All mothers are, huh?
You know. I'll tell you how I found out. She was reading. She was talking with another parent, a parent of a teenager who was getting very secretive, and she was very worried, and she was like early teens, and she said to her, "Oh, don't even worry about that. You know what you need to do? You need to buy her a little journal. Buy her a journal, and she will write her feelings down, and that, and every once in a while you need to go check and see." And it's like, what?
A real gangster.
So she's like, sorry about that. So she would go and check and see, and then I was like, okay, so hold on. You've been reading my journal for only when you were a teenager and you started to go down in your little rabbit hole. But then she turns to the woman and says, the main thing you have to remember is never, ever use what is written against them.
Key.
Never use it. Put it in your head, be able to parent from that place, but never, ever, ever breach that trust. They have to trust it to write it for it to work. So that's parents of children, right? Now, adults, it's harder, right? Yeah. But because, well, not even that. And I think it's important for people to have their privacy, and it's something that I think that I've always had as an adult. But one of the things that I found really interesting is my transition from protecting my private thoughts to just leaving them there. If you want to read them, read them. Good luck.
But that comes from confidence as well, right?
It does. But that is also a confidence that is built through knowing yourself. And the way that you know yourself, and the way that I have practiced knowing myself, is to write these things out. Sometimes I'll come home and I have no idea what's bothering me. Within a half hour of me writing this business out, I know exactly what has gotten under my skin, and I know exactly how to deal with it. And that's something that I think takes practice. So it's a skill that I actually highly recommend that everyone that is inclined to high levels of emotion, because or in any way high strung, or that is an excellent way to deal with it. Anyone who is experiencing depression and anxiety in particular, because depression, like, I think writing can sometimes feed it, but in battling anxiety, I find that it is also an amazing thing to do, because once you put it out on paper, you can look at it and say, hold on, that's not really that big a deal.
Right. So when we come back from this news break, if you feel inclined, share with as you wish. And I'm anxious to hear some of your poetry. Aniki Hill, she's the nurse. He is his daughter. Just put it out there.
That's okay. That's who I felt.
That's who she felt. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Government reported the results of 512 COVID-19 tests on Wednesday. All came back negative. So far, more than 93,000 vaccines have been given locally. Turning to international news now, the Dukes of Cambridge and Sussex have united to unveil a statue of Diana, Princess of Wales, saying, "Every day we wish she were still here with us." William and Harry came together for a ceremony in Kensington Palace's redesigned sunken garden on what would have been their mother's 60th birthday. It was their first appearance together since the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral in April. The pair were seen laughing and talking with guests who applauded as they pulled off a green cloth covering the statue. Residents of a Canadian village which recorded the country's highest ever temperature, 49.6 degrees Celsius, 121.3 degrees Fahrenheit, have been forced to flee by a wildfire. The mayor ordered people to evacuate, saying flames had spread through the village in just 15 minutes. A heat wave has hit Western Canada this week, with British Columbia recording 3 times its usual number of deaths. Abnormally high temperatures have been recorded in swaths of North America. And a Los Angeles Superior Court judge denied on Wednesday a motion to remove Britney Spears' father from his role as a conservator of his daughter's $60 million estate, making official a November request to allow a trust to act as a co-conservator of her estate. While the decision came just 1 week after the pop star's bombshell testimony about Jamie Spears' role as conservator, Judge Brenda Penny's ruling was not a result of that hearing and was instead made on a request from November in which Spears' attorney filed to add Bessemer Trust to serve as co-conservator alongside the singer's father. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Summer Farmer Camp. It's time to get your kids back in touch with nature, not their tablet. The Cayman Islands Agriculture Society will be hosting a summer farming camp for children ages 5 to 12, from tending the crops to working with goats, chickens, rabbits, cattle, and horses. Get those fingers off the screen and let them get a little dirty. July 26th to August 6th at the Agriculture Grounds in Lower Valley. Only $135 per week, including breakfast, snack, lunch, and field trips to area farms. Email 345agriculture@gmail.com or call 917-2008.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Evans.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. And thank you for joining us, and thanks to Aniki Hill for being in the studio. And I'm hoping, well, let me ask you for your guidance. My respect and admiration, not only of you as the individual, the professional, that a wonderful, gifted, talented, creative person, but who your family, your parents, and the like. But in this space that we are, what last year was, what so far is transpiring this year globally. But even if you were to look at it just within, these 3 islands, there's a lot of potential for discord and disharmony, a lot of division and dissension. A lot of people are feeling a bit of disquiet. And I think, unfortunately, and this is not meant to be politically inflammatory or otherwise, but I think if we don't recognize what's before us, we're going to be mistaken in our response. And I say this to share that, just to take, for instance, isn't it better to have diplomacy, right, in terms of coming together and figure out how to resolve things through dialogue, than to have a militant approach? Our regiment, for instance, absolutely abhor the context of putting guns in the hands of people whose psychological profile may or may not be at what we want. But why not diplomacy? Why not put pen to paper and have a symposium as to what is potential, right? Why not plant a flower bed or create vegetable garden or go and do something constructive like clean the beaches, as opposed to try to fool people into the objectives and the motives. In a way, I share that, right? Is that if we look at the growing level of concern, as it were, that people are feeling relative to their employment, their economic security, their potential, that in their own space they may face something that they're not sure how to respond to, changing relationships, changing health, and compounded by what seems to be an external force that's dictating what they can do, if they can do it, when they can do it, how they can do it. It creates, I don't know, a recipe for some significant turmoil.
Yes, I agree with you that it does create a recipe for turmoil. I know, however, that this is my way.
Yes.
This is not the right way to manage emotion, and this is not the only way that I am able to manage. I mean, I have to practice meditation. I do there's a lot that I do around my own mental self-care. I actually teach meditation, and meditation classes start for summer on Saturday morning.
Are they always at the Pedro and the lawn?
No, we're actually moving to the Savannah Community Park.
Okay.
Which is right across from the Baptist Church. So there'll be meditation classes at 8:30 in the morning then.
Seamlessly, what time of day is it? Because
8:30 in the morning. Nice
on a Saturday.
cool
8:30
on a Saturday.
That's AM. Came on time. I mean,
AM. You do not want that to be PM because the mosquitoes will take you away. We gotta be practical.
Okay,
about
do
this.
it 8:30 p.m. and I'll bring some people.
Oh well, that could happen.
Mosquitoes
Okay,
take them away.
The mosquitoes might take them away, but
sorry.
But so my point is that we have so many tools in our arsenal around our own self-care, around our own mental health. I recognize also that I am very privileged right now in the current economic situation at the moment to have more than security for the moment. However, that is also something that is very likely to leave.
It's fleeting.
Yeah, it's very fleeting, and it's very, very vulnerable. So even the people that are not struggling now are aware of the vulnerability to struggle in the future. And so you're right. There is a mounting pressure. But when I speak to my own privilege, I say that I do that because I recognize that I do not have the answers to the excruciating turmoil that a lot of people are dealing with right now. So I can't claim to have the answers to that. However, the thing that I see in this particular modality that I think would be absolutely useful is just how inexpensive this is as an opportunity for somebody to take care of themselves. This is a place where children get to actually take care of themselves, learn how to take care of themselves. This is where independence can be formed. This is where freedom of thought can be exercised. And we're seeing a lot of stuff coming out of the schools, and we're seeing a drop in literacy, which scares the living daylights out of me, because dropping in literacy keeps this kind of thing out of the hands of those people that need it. So this is where I think it's so important for people who are of my generation, who are able to have the kind of conversations that we can with young people, as well as have the conversations that we can and learn from our elders, and actually start to record things, start to write down and record, but also teach writing and recording.
Right. Before you read, we do have a caller online. We shall go to our phones, Aniki Hill.
Sure.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling Green.
Good afternoon, my friend. How are you today?
Very good, and good afternoon to my special, beautiful cousin.
Good afternoon.
Boy.
I recognize the voice from the minute you spoke, but I said, let me just wait a little bit and hear what you got. Now, Sterling Green, I knew her from before she born.
I know who it is now.
I was going to tell you.
And I have never known, Anika, that you wrote and don't know. I know you sing.
She gets that from her mother, okay?
Yes, she does.
Sorry, Carl.
But I never knew that she actually wrote and did art and stuff. And knew her all my life.
Yeah.
I just wanted to call and say, Anika, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. And I hope I see you after sunset on Saturday.
I can't. I'm in quarantine.
Oh, no.
Yeah, house arrest, huh?
I'll send pictures.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, listen, thank you for doing that.
Thank you for calling.
That is so wonderful of you to do that, because this is where we need to share and celebrate. Now, I knew that you sang, you wrote, you painted. I was trying to think, how did I know that? But then I'm glad that I know. What I didn't realize was how prolific you are. Given all the other demands on your professional life alone, your social commitments or your societal commitments, to the community, and yet you find time. So, but I know why though. You got your mommy.
This comes first. See, what I don't think that is an interesting conversation too, because I don't think people realize that an artist who does not actually express themselves will die in their soul. Like Christina and I had this conversation very recently. Christina Pineda of Artnest. Yeah. She's like, Nikki, you need to make sure that you're getting this stuff out of your system, because otherwise you will explode, and you know what that looks like. I'm like, yes, ma'am, I certainly do.
Wow. but and I want you to read, because I want people to to hear. But that fact that we keep things, we internalize, right, and we feel like we want to explode. Literally, I mean, you listen to some people that are close to you. They'll tell you they don't want to pop off. They feel this thing. They don't have a healthy outlet. It's not just hitting the punching bags at the boxing gym or going for that, really, really long run or that quick sprint. It's about doing something that brings you joy, fulfillment, finding your happiness.
Yeah.
But for many of us, well, we don't.
We're not taught to treat it as a priority. It's not a thing that's going to lose you weight, right? It's not going to be the thing that, but it might lower your blood pressure.
But it may cause you to gain weight. Oh. Because then you'll stress eat. You won't.
This is exactly my point. Like, this can lower your blood pressure. Yeah. Just the thought can actually lower your blood pressure, the way that you actually approach life, your view of life. So venting all of the negative, as well as experimenting and celebrating the positives, is a really important part of writing.
All right. Hit this poetry first. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
I brought about 15 or 20 here today.
So can we get a third of them?
Oh, no, you don't want all that.
Okay, but
some of these can't go on the radio. I already told you I got to cuss a little.
Cuss a little, live a lot. Go on. So let's hear it.
Election prayer. Oh, my darling islands, I send you all my love. May the hustlers and the shut-ins feel the grace of God above. May the schoolgirls and the schoolboys who rise now from out of bed wash their faces, enter kitchens where they are loved and they are fed. Keep the mosquitoes in the swamp and the dolphins running strong. Keep the woodpeckers far from the flashing and hush the parrot's mango song. May the struggling baby mama get all the help she needs. May the inmate and the officer see God's sky above the weeds. May the doctors do the right thing, keep the lawyers far from lies, help the cashiers all to balance, and help the cooks to win over flies. Keep the lowlands safe from flooding, keep the sand up on the beach, and keep evil from our hearts and treasures out of Satan's reach. Bless the grannies' lullabies and the daddies who provide. Bless the adults at sunrise and the fishermen out off north side. Keep us all in safety. Keep our sailors' wits afloat. And may the good Lord's will be done when we all go out to vote.
Wow. Hey. If that,
I didn't write that this year, eh?
No. Hey. That'll resonate. And that's the Caymanianness that is there. And I think Miss Susan was either signaling the Cayman Airways to come in for landing. You got to pause, Miss Susan? Yeah, I get so in view. But okay, let's pause. And Annika, maybe you'll share if you wish when we return.
Sure.
Remember Saturday evening, we'll tell you when, where, and why, and how, and whatever. But Saturday, join us right after this, though. Stay tuned.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Carl Esmond Scott, JP,
1909 to 2002. Pastor Carl Esmond Scott was born in Spot Bay, Cayman Brac. He married Violet Rosa Scott, with whom he had 8 children. He made outstanding contributions to the island as a pastor, marriage officer, justice of the peace, carpenter, and distinguished seaman and engineer on the M.V. Kirksons for the Kirkconnell family. In carrying out his pastoral duties, he counseled, advised, and assisted many families in various ways. He was known to many as a jack of all trades, as he used his God-given talents to help the needy, the lost, and the straying.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Freedom, Cayman Brac. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
When you're tight on time and budget, but big on flavor, Subway's Meal of the Day hits the spot. Enjoy daily meals on classic sandwiches like tuna, Black Forest ham, meatball marinara, and more. Starting at $6.25 for 6-inch meals and $8.75 for footlongs. You can get Subway's Meal of the Day. Enjoy a different sandwich on a different day for the same price. Mix it up with cookies or chips or waffle fries for the same price. Subway, eat fresh.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners would like to remind customers the closing time for all stores is 5:30 p.m. Savannah Countryside, 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Elgin Avenue, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Puritan Cleaners, 337 Eastern Avenue. Drive-through, rain or shine. 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Now 10% off prepaid on $20 orders and up. Household and wedding dresses remain at standard offer. 10% off on prepaid orders. Drop off and transfer for pickup from any of the 3 Puritan stores for your convenience. Call 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us in Aniki Hill. Nee Brown. Is that okay to say that?
Yep.
Hope he will be fine. Oh, by the way, he's an awesome guy, man. Awesome fellow. Congrats
good
again.
People.
Okay, good people, man. Good people. We want to join this other caller. We would invite you, if you so choose, to share from your poetry, but remind us equally. But let's just go to the phones and welcome this caller. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Sterling.
Buenos días. Buenas tardes, señor.
Sí, señor.
Sí.
I would like to say that Miss Aniki is doing such a great job, and in the world of art, entertainment, etc. We operate on a different level, you know. Not that we always want to be understood or that sort of thing, because, for example, if you're going to write a story, it's a story, you know. You're gonna write a song. It's a song, not necessarily the truth, or at least not what others might interpret it to be their truth, but a story is a story. You know, music, film, playwriting, that sort of thing, poetry, stories, you know, whether it's a double story, whatever it is, it's entertaining, it's great, not that we will always be understood You know, you have a lot of artists. They wear tattoos. They operate different. You know, and they're misunderstood, and sometimes they're treated in the wrong way. You know, you got to recognize a celebrity in the person and celebrate with that person or persons and not misunderstand and treat that person in the wrong way. You know, you need to know who we're dealing with. It's an artist. You know, the person's an artist there, and that's something I wanted to get across. Yeah, to a
Thank
lot
you,
of
man.
people,
Thank you.
Really. Okay.
All right, enjoy your afternoon. But all the best. Talk to you when you're ready again. Ms. Aniki?
Yeah, I think he speaks to a truth that I think is something that artists have been known as for as long as art has been recognized as something that is separate, you know. And I think this speaks again to the courage of choosing who you are, and the fact that, like you and I talked about this earlier, where this stuff comes first. This is a part of who I am. This is like me feeding myself, filling my own cup. This is me shining the bulb of my light, cleaning it off and taking off the dust of the day.
Hiding on a bushel.
Yeah, and so I completely agree that artists are often seen as on the fringes. However, there are cultures throughout the world where artists are treated differently, where the artist is actually seen as a critical part of the development of society. There were 4 poets, I think it was, in one of the Latin American countries that actually led a revolution. And it is a willingness to see the world in a different way, or to unveil things and see them as they are, or it really is about vision, right? So poets have been instrumental in leading charges and social change throughout the world. Painters have also been a very, very big part. When you just look at the Renaissance, you know, the Renaissance, a very big part of what made the Renaissance have such a lasting impact in the world was the fact that art was created and it was recorded, you know. So, you know, it's critical to give ourselves permission to be different.
Is it then that as you speak to the decline in literacy, I wonder sometimes whether it isn't another deliberate attempt to return to the Dark Ages, the elite in our society? If we can't read and write, if we don't have time, the devil has us so busy that we no longer can think, and we don't record, we don't report, we're no longer reflecting on who we are. The sculpting, the painting, the poetry, the song, the dance, the creative outlet isn't being expressed, explored, and shared. Then therefore people of just mundane and almost monotonous.
Yeah, I see. While the conspiracies that exist may or may not have their merit, I still believe it is our personal responsibility, particularly in a democratic system, to make change. It is our personal responsibility to guard the things that we value. And if we don't value it, it will die. So this is where I think the conversation shifts to what is it that we value. If literacy is something that we value, it's something that we should be standing up for.
But look at many of our households, right? And those of us who grew up where books were accessible, we were encouraged, and they were seen as a form of like a reward, where at the dinner table, there was appropriate conversation, but it wasn't edited. It wasn't because you were a child, you weren't included. Now, there were certain expectations as a child as to your behavior and the like. I wonder how many of us appreciate how important that was for what we are today. Our education, our expression.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think those are social constructs. Those were family traditions that had social repercussions and had social impact and purposes. That maybe they are, they are dying. However, I think there is something to be said for, and I keep bringing it back to the present. There is a growing experience of a new form of expression. that needs to be acknowledged and given the respect that it is going to play not only in our future, but in our present.
Yeah.
And I am very, like, I spend a lot of time with young people, and I like to I sit down and gossip with my teenage nephew and godson, and I want to hear the sus. Right? I think that's going to be an important part of parenting going forward, period. But some of the things that I learned from these young people, and this is something I think a lot of leaders are coming to understand, is that you need to understand the world that young people are living in. It is a completely different world.
That's right. Yeah.
I have learned in the last few years about places where, like, young people don't interact, and we're talking about the social impact of social media and the fact that they're not able to socialize in the way that you'd be surprised at the kind of socializing that actually takes place on things like Discord and Twitch, and on the game stations and so on. You'd be shocked at the kind of vibrant life.
Yeah.
There's a vibrant and active social life that is taking place that is outside of the view of the older generations.
Yep.
So when I say, yes, we have lost a lot of very valuable social and family structures. And yes, it may be valuable to have those things be reintroduced. However, we also need to be paying attention to what is being created in this new world and really come to some intentional decisions as to what kind of value they can add to. Right? So, and I'm seeing, my other half is a gamer, and he's Luke used to make good money on Twitch at one point before I met him, right? So he was he's educated me on a lot of how this thing actually works, because I and it's very easy for us to think that we know better, right? Particularly those of us who are in that middle generation who think we know. We don't know. We can understand, and it is very easy to catch us up, but we really have no idea what that world looks like, because our world is also very different, right? So I think it's really important for us to bridge the gap with all of the generations. I believe that young people need to be listened to and understood, and I think they have a lot to teach us because they know more about the world that is coming than we do. Yeah. So yes, there are things of the world that has passed that we would want to hold value with and make sure that it survives. And we also need to balance that with looking to the future.
What's that song? I wish I, knew then what I know now, right? And I think, our reminds us, the scripture talks about the next generation weaker but wiser. We're seeing it now. We're seeing that socialization. That they're seated on the couch, the gaming chair. We have a name for it. And they're playing with multiple players across the globe.
Yeah.
And they're friends, but they've never met in person. But they know as much, if not more, about each other than we know sometimes about the people we see every day.
Yes. So this is exactly it. This is like the pen pal.
Yeah.
Of the 1950s.
In real time.
And those relationships are not any less valuable.
Yeah. So,
and in fact, before we move on,
no,
in a segregated educational system, sometimes that is the place where young people are exposed to other cultures.
That's it. And where they're making that strong connection, that they're understanding the geopolitical landscape. Now, they may not be saying it in those words. Some of them are. But they know as much, if not more, about what is transpiring in real time.
Yeah.
And I sort of liken it to an extent to our seafarers as they travel the globe.
Yes.
Right. So you do.
Yes.
And for me, I like to see, feel, touch, and taste because it's there, right? So how can this person be your friend? You've never met them. But they have.
But when you consider the romances that took place in the 1930s, I mean,
even though the war,
my grandmother had like love letters in her purse that she kept for 50 years, and I found them one time, and she's like, "Oh yes, there was this soldier that came to visit Utila," and I'm like, "Oh, look at you, you're so cute, you keeping these things." So those were people that she met him probably once, but they wrote for years until they both got married and had their own lives and so on. But But, you know, there are very real connections that take place.
Yep.
And we need to not disrespect them and honor them. Actually, you know, when we consider the long distance relationships of our forebears, where the mothers were here and the men were at sea, like this is our new reality. But you're right, they connect also to opening the minds of young people to the real world. If you watched anything to do with that whole Robin Hood, AMC and GameStop drama that took place in the market, a couple of, well, it's still ongoing, right? It looks like they won because Robin Hood has now had to like pay their fines and move on. That kind of stuff started on Reddit. Reddit, and a lot of the guys that were in that Reddit thread, I can never, like, I'm gonna get told off for calling it the wrong thing.
Yeah, you go.
In that subreddit, right? In that subreddit, they're gamers. These are gamers who started to learn how to game in real life and play the market. So, and most of them are under the age of 30. So let's just have a little curiosity about where this can take us. And don't get me wrong, it drives me just as crazy as the next millennial to see people spending hours upon hours upon hours on these devices.
Oh my God.
Because I believe there must be balance, because this can't be physically healthy, right? So I'm coming from a place of wellness, but at the same time, I have to respect that there's actually a lot that's coming up that we need to start to honor. And one last thing to consider.
And then we go to the break. You want to stay with us for a bit?
Sure, no problem.
All
a
right.
little longer.
Stay
but
a little
the
longer.
last piece around to this whole thing is that is where a lot of young people are learning to read.
And they're creating, just in that, the economics talk about the self-fulfilling prophecy. Go back to, GameStop, right? And we're seeing how a particular thought process cultivates into action that brings about a consequence.
They are working themselves around the mistakes that previous generations have set them up to make.
Yep.
So let's just have some respect for it.
All right. Let's pause and take a break. And if you think that this is hot, you wait until you join us Saturday night. We'll tell you more. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Between June 7th and August 18th, CUC subcontractors UMC and PSCL will be conducting tree trimming between 9 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. Mondays to Fridays on Seaview Road from Frankstown Road to John McLean Drive, near Paradise Villas in East End. Motorists should exercise caution due to temporary lane blockages. For more information, contact 949-5200 or email services@cuc.ky.
Cybercrime happens online or through the technology we use every day. Anyone can be a victim of cybercrime, whether you are a young person being bullied or harassed online, or an older person or business who's been scammed out of money or personal data. Cybercrime is an issue that touches all of us. The Cayman Islands government has therefore created an online resource to help keep you cyber safe in an ever-changing world.
In online situations, it is better to be cyber safe than sorry. Learn now to protect yourself against cybercrime. Visit gov.ky/cybersafe.
Travelers to the sister islands of Cayman Brac and Little Cayman for the long weekend are reminded to disinfect your snorkel or dive gear with 1% bleach solution for at least 10 minutes to help combat the spread of stony coral tissue loss. For more information, visit doe.ky or call 926-0680.
Attention all tourism stipend recipients. Have you completed the mandatory stipend survey? This survey is required for all recipients and must be completed by this Friday, 2nd July 2021. Visit stipend.ourcayman.ky today to complete the short survey. Remember, it is mandatory, so visit stipend.ourcayman.ky today. Any questions? Email the tourism stipend team at stipend@caymanislands.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And in the studio, Aniki Hill, and we're going to remind you as we extend an invitation to join us. I say us, eh?
Yeah, there you go. You'll be there. Work on it.
God's willing, I intend to come. I like the space. I enjoy it. Now, before we continue, let's take this other caller.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Welcome. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is that Mr. Sterling?
Blessings to you, Mom. Yes, it is. How are you?
I am so glad that God gave me another day of life.
Amen. Amen.
And that is that young lady is Mr. Carl Brown's daughter, and Nurse Hazel Brown is her mother.
Yes, ma'am. Afternoon.
Good afternoon. And yes, and is Mrs. Gwen, is your grandmother doing quite well?
She is, ma'am. She's not remembering a lot, but she is very healthy, and she's in her early 90s. I think she's turned 92. So we've been blessed to have her still.
How old is your grandmother now?
I think she's 92.
I think she's around my age, because if God is His will in September, I'll be 94.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I know that she was around my age, and your grandfather, that unfortunately lost his life and came and back on that boat, Mr. Hugh. I knew him quite well too.
Well, you were blessed where I wasn't.
You didn't get to know him.
I just got a message from my uncle. My grandmother is 93. You all are the same age.
No, what month is Miss Gwen born?
She's a January baby.
So she was 92 in January.
93 in January.
93.
Mm-hmm.
And if God lets me see September 19th, I'll be 94.
Well, we hope that He does.
Amen.
If it's His will, I trust so too, because He's been a wonderful God to me. I have no complaints. So I know I've met Mr. Carl, this young lady's father, Mr. Carl Brown, and I probably have seen you, Nurse Hazel Brown, too, but I can't remember meeting up with you.
Okay.
But I would like to say, you and your husband must be so very pleased, so very proud of your daughter.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. All right then.
All right. God bless.
God bless.
God bless.
All
of you.
Thanks, Mrs. Georgia. This is. I'm sure this exists in other places, and I pray that it does. But this is one of the things that I think draws us all to Cayman. Anyway, the love.
This is exactly what we talk about, the neural pathways of Caymanianness, where we belong to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very important sense of belonging that I think Caymanians are able to continue to provide to each other and ourselves if we pay attention to who we are, which is really what I find is the purpose of the work that I have come to find, to dig out of my archives. Just the themes are very similar, and it leads to a respect for who we are and who we can be.
I think that's when sometimes, unfortunately, we don't convey it and people don't necessarily comprehend it. Mm-hmm. When we say never forget who you're for, it goes beyond your biological,
yeah.
And it's not only the heavenly, that is important, but who you're for, what you represent, what that means. And for me to hear those who've come and live amongst us, to embrace that, to adopt that, to, wantingly and almost expect
at the minimum respect it.
And they want to be, anyway. So before you read,
I have a short one.
Go
And
ahead.
Miss Georgia helped me to choose this one. She
Okay.
doesn't know this, but
Yeah.
this was written based on my grandfather. He went down on a boat between Little Cayman and Cayman Brac, and very little of him was found. Right? So I always relate to the sea, and particularly the water between Cayman Brac and Little Cayman as a very special piece of home, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also was reflecting on the relief, and I know that this is not what people are feeling right now, but maybe still so to a certain extent, to no longer have cruise tourism completely clogging our beaches, right?
Although we have a lot of people here still.
Yeah, but and people are welcome. It's just a matter of like the excess and the garbage and the noise and not feeling at home on your own beach, right? And I actually wrote this in 2019 on a stormy day when the ships couldn't land. And I'll just read it really quickly. Smooth seas are for tourists. The island soul glories in white-capped reclamation, water ground, ancestral bones, now white powdered sand, living spiritual boundaries of our grandfather's land.
Would you read that again, if you would?
Smooth seas are for tourists. The island soul glories in white-capped reclamation, water ground, ancestral bones, now white powdered sand, living spiritual boundaries of our grandfather's land.
I hope as people hear that,
Yeah.
from the white caps of the seas out there, right? It is, as I listen to you, of course I always think when it comes to poetry, Leonard Gilbert poetry to me is synonymous, right? But there's a similar style in those two pieces that you just read to his works.
Okay.
And you know what? That just tells me we have but anyway.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have one last one to leave with you.
Would you please?
Sure. This one's called Middle Passage. And there's always been a little superstition that hurricanes coming off of Africa are cursed, right? Like the ones that are formed in the Caribbean don't really harm us, right? We know to be less afraid of homegrown hurricanes than those who ride the blackened bones picked clean through centuries of misuse and ongoing abuse. Harsh salt and whitened caps. Discarded cargoes of wasted lives find hot new purposes in death delivered to the conquerors of lands discovered. Darlings turn demons, sucked to their death in the depths, rise up to wreak havoc on plunder fattened heirs to the cane field.
Wow. That's powerful. Now, even if you wish, what's the story of that one?
The
what
story
caused
about
you to
it?
write that one? Yeah.
Watching a hurricane. It's almost like Africa just passes gas and we start to fret. you just see them form like these little storms forming around Nigeria and Ghana and they start and the Cote d'Ivoire and they start to move across and that one coming for us and we feel like that one is coming for us from the time it leaves Africa.
Yeah.
But we have a little thing developing over us and we're just let's just hang the hammock outside and enjoy the breeze.
A good Christmas. All right. But as I listen to you, that is where I think the artists, the creatives help us to reflect on history as well as to record it, but also to recognize what is transpiring now.
Yeah.
And we know from the sanitized version of history that we get, Ray Banker reminds us of the African proverb, not until the lion gets a biography, the hunter will always be the hero. Right? People coming across, if they were no longer valuable to the possessors, what happened?
Yeah.
Your poem
people were
reminds us.
thrown overboard if they misbehaved, if they were sick. There were so many people that lost their lives during that transition.
Just like at a
And
cat
we are
boat,
the
if
survivors.
you bail out water because you take on a leak. You just bail it out. This is what they were doing with a human.
Yeah.
And today we still celebrate those people. The statues haven't come down fast enough or often enough or enough. But anyway, maybe I'll be chastised for that.
Oh, you'll be fine. I'm sure.
Oh, trust me, I will be. Dumping the whole frightened. All right, so Saturday evening, Mom.
Saturday evening, on display will be art that I've collected, that I've created over the course of the last several years. And I will also be reading more from what has now become called the Hammock Poetry Collection. I am being encouraged also to publish this, but I have a feeling this will be Hammock Poetry Volume 1, and Hammock Poetry Volume 2, which is constantly being written, will probably come up thereafter. Also on Saturday evening at the event, I really encourage people to come out and discuss the themes about what it means to be Caymanian. Come and sit down and talk. I mean, the kind of people that are coming to this event are from all over and having, all different backgrounds. And I think it's going to be such a valuable and rich conversation, particularly coming off of the Roy Bodden Symposium. But I would also like to invite everyone who does come out to come and sit and talk with me about, the things that you see that need to be written about, and what your role can be for yourself. As I said, I'm preparing to teach a course on journaling and how to actually make it a part of your life. It takes 40 days to create a habit. This is, I would be working on breaking down the things that get in the way of someone writing. It takes 3 minutes in the morning to make something special for your day.
Yeah, some of us know that some things don't even last that long, but 3 minutes. On Saturday, what time again?
It will be at 6 o'clock. At Mojo, which is upstairs, the
Central
Bayshore
Terrace?
Mall, Central Terrace. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's the restaurant behind the Creperie. It's right in that same area.
By
the
Lucky
Creperie,
Slice Pizza.
where the Creperie was.
Right.
So it's by Lucky Slice Pizza, and we're looking forward to seeing everyone there. And that will be rain or shine because it is indoors. But I am very mindful that we do have weather on the way, but we're hoping that it's going to be coming in on Sunday. So hopefully have a really bright day on Saturday in preparation for that.
Well, thank you for the courage, willing to do this.
Thank you.
Thanks for the resolve and coming to share. I know it's been somewhat busy helping to promote it, but we're glad that we're able to support it, and through our participation on Saturday, then that it will cause more of us to think deeply, lovingly,
hopefully,
and willingly. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Pleasure to be here.
You are encouraging. You are nurturing. Maybe many will take you up on your meditation. They'll be a part of your sort of classes in order how we become better.
Saturday's busy. 8:30 in the morning is meditation.
There you go. Well, Ms. Anneke, thank you very much. And as Ms. George has shared, your parents, like the community, are proud of you.
One last thing before I go. If anyone wants to contact me about this or about meditation at all, we do have an email address, and it is blueislandoracle@gmail.com.
Not the Oracle of Omaha, but Blue Island Oracle.
Blue Island Oracle. And you can find us on all social media at this point, except maybe LinkedIn. But I'm on LinkedIn, so you'll find me. Yeah.
Don't look too hard because she's right there. Look even hard, you find more. But thank you. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We shall chat again, God's willing.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Well, see, this is another example of what is great in our society. So we'll pause, take a short break. We'll come back. We close out the show with 40 minutes or thereabouts of one news break, a couple of commercials, and 40 minutes of talk. Who knows? Susan might sing. Probably not. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
We are in the hurricane season, and knowing what to do after a hurricane can be as important as preparing for the storm. After the passage of a hurricane, seek medical attention if it is needed at hospitals and clinics for those persons who are injured. Do not touch power lines and cables that are down. They may be active. Report them to 911 or the utilities emergency hotlines. Broken tree limbs should be removed from around homes or buildings if possible. This hurricane information has been brought to you by Breeze FM and Radio Cayman.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Join the National Museum on Saturday, 3rd of July from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for their 5th annual mango season at the museum. Enjoy local food, a mango peeling competition, traditional artisans and vendors with mango products, and more. It all happens at the National Museum on the waterfront in Georgetown.
Did you know about UCCI's Back to Uni giveaway? Up to $2,000 in prizes are being given away.
Serious? How can I win?
Easy. Just register early for fall classes and you'll be entered to win in one of UCCI's weekly giveaways. Maybe you'll get lucky and win one of the top 3 prizes, your choice of an iPad or a laptop computer.
Cool. I'm going online to register now.
Students can register online, make an in-person appointment, or drop in at UCCI. Visit ucci.edu.ky for more information on UCCI's Back to Uni giveaway.
The 7 a.m. news Monday through Friday is proudly sponsored by CG Britke. Insurance, health, pensions, life, where people come first.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM from 7:30 to 9 a.m. for Cayman's News Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record.
Brought to you by Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks again for your time, your company, for the conversation, for the counsel, and the companionship. 8949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp me personally if you want and you enjoyed it. Well, go ahead. If not, use the public one, 925-3261. As Aniki Hill, earlier shared with us, maybe Friday evening you'll look at it and say, what am I going to do on the weekend? Well, you'll chill out Friday, stay home and rest, so that Saturday you can go out and be a part of her evening, 6 p.m. over, at Central Terrace, and to recognize what the arts mean to a society and what through, the creatives are we able to express, to enjoy, not just entertain, but educate. Well, what's on your mind? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or we would like, very much to say thanks and show our appreciation, the collaboration with the excellent hard-working team over at our sales department, and one of our sponsors, Kings. But we're going to share that with you in a second. Let's go to the phones, though. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Buenas tardes, señor Sterling.
Yeah, bienvenido, mi amigo.
Sí, un minuto. Again, I'd like to say, speaking in relation to celebrities, Britney Spears, she's going through a whole lot. She achieved a whole lot, and it's so good to see that she achieved a whole lot. People like Mariah Carey, Beyonce, I still like those, they're my role models. Rihanna, Yeah, I think they're doing great. They did a whole lot. They can help a whole lot of people right now.
It's interesting though that as I listen to, I recognize how many of us sort of live our lives, watching these, I don't know, what do you want to call them, reality shows, the lives of these seemingly celebrities. They're just people, bro. They cut them, they bleed, they cry tears, sometimes they're real. They're just people. I don't know why we elevate and celebrate them. They're just people. Anyway, Such is life, huh? Such is life.
You're a celebrity too, you know, Mrs. Shirley.
Well,
Come on,
I don't, maybe unfortunately, I don't see myself as such. I'm just a person, man, you know, flesh and blood, you know, muscle and bone. Sometimes trying to do the right thing and other times trying to find happiness.
Oh, yeah. But, what I'd like to say is I thought about, you know, so there were people who wanted to give me some opportunity. Well, I had opportunities to do a lot of things in the areas of the arts and stuff. But I said, you know, if I were to be an actor in film, would I do it so good that they, for example, if I wanted to be like a mob boss in a movie or something, you know, I mean, how would I be treated after that? You know? Like Al Pacino, how they would believe that how do people take these things?
Yeah.
But it's a story, you know. I mean, look at Steve Urkel. He's completely different from.
But is that it though? I mean, you reference, you know, that sometimes we label people, actors get typecast sometimes, and we look at certain things. I mean, people like Lawrence Fishburne, for instance, just so versatile. You know, not really a great fan of Al Pacino, but you know, when you think of Anthony Hopkins, for instance, but even Clint Eastwood, we tend to typecast people as we label our students and we label members of our society. The question though, what are we doing about how we are as people and trying to elevate ourselves and each other? And are we spending so much time, you know, following the follies of some of these, I don't know what even to call them, because they're just here today and gone today.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Miss Salida Ebanks and Grace Keeley and
excellent people.
All these, all these good Caymanians. They're doing pretty well, you know. But we got to remember that they're quite talented, very skillful, and not to look at things in a negative way.
They're very dedicated, right? And disciplined.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And that level of determination, you know, we should be celebrating their success. But I wonder to what extent, as we look at our own, you know, and I appreciate you referencing Grace and Salida, how many of our own people are we willing to look at with the same level of, I don't know, praise as we look at some of these jokers that I see around the place, right? We bring people into our schools to talk to our children, and I don't know if the language they speak resonates with the children. I don't know if it's the way on show of how they connect and how they're interconnected, but I wonder to what extent we are appreciative of the impact, the potential and negative impact this nonsense is having on our society. I'm really not sure, man. I mean, sometimes you have to wonder if you shouldn't take a few of the adults who are in authority and really put them in timeout. But anyway, my friend, I'm told the news is there, but your contribution is always welcome, and I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Let's just pause and take a break. When we come back, we want to say thanks to you. We're going to give you a $100 gift certificate. You might be the person who receive it. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm Shanda Gallego with your latest headlines. Officials with Cayman Airways Limited say they are monitoring the progression of Tropical Storm Elsa as it relates to any potential impacts on the airline's flight operations. Passengers traveling on repatriation flights may voluntarily change their reservations without change fees. However, CAL officials say passengers should consider that seats on alternate repatriation flights may not always be available. No schedule changes for existing flights are anticipated at this time, but may become necessary depending on weather conditions. Turning to international news now, COVID infections have risen by 10% in a week in Europe after 2 months in decline, and the risk of a new wave of cases is growing. That according to the World Health Organization. The regional director said the risk had been heightened by sluggish vaccine rollouts, new variants, and increased social mixing. There was also a danger that Euro 2020 could act as a super spreader. Hundreds of fans returning from London and St. Petersburg have tested positive. A bloody wave of shootings, arson, and other criminal violence has engulfed parts of Port-au-Prince, forcing thousands of people to flee their homes and trapping others within dangerous areas of the Haitian capital. Aid agencies say. Most recently, a series of killings on Tuesday night claimed the lives of radio journalist Diego Charles and activist Antoinette Declaire, among others, according to a statement by Haiti's government. And Trump Organization Chief Financial Officer Alan Weisselberg is appearing in a Manhattan courtroom Thursday afternoon to respond to criminal charges against him and the company in connection with alleged tax crimes. The indictment charges the Trump Organization, Trump Payroll Corporation, and Alan Weisselberg. Prosecutors in court described a 15-year tax scheme and said the charges include 15 felony counts, including a scheme to defraud, conspiracy, and grand larceny, and falsifying business records. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
We give you honor and praise, adoration and glory.
Radio Cayman.
praise time.
Praise him, praise him. Come and let's praise the Lord. Come and let's praise the Lord. Praise him in the morning and in the evening. Oh, let's praise the Lord.
Praise time in the morning.
Praise him, praise him.
Weekdays 6 to 6:30 a.m.
Radio Cayman, waking you up. Rock my soul in the blues of my faith. Rock my soul in the blues of my faith.
Praise time.
I know he cares. He'll always be there. Oh, yeah. Praise him, praise him, praise him.
Praise time.
Set your clock for 6 a.m. or you will miss it.
Things just got a bit hotter on island. Come in today and order the new spicy Korean subs at Subway. They're sweet, spicy, and especially satisfying. Stop in and try the pulled pork with spicy Korean sauce, or the chicken with spicy Korean sauce. And you can message WhatsApp at 929-4658. Order online or use Let's Eat or the Bento app. The spicy Korean subs at Subway in 2 flavors, extra saucy and extra spicy. Subway, eat fresh.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us here on this truly terrific Thursday's edition of Talk Today. 949-8837, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Or if you're listening, well, shoot me on my own line. Hey, can we say thanks to our loyal listeners to show our love and truly, how appreciative we are for our listeners and our advertisers. A phenomenal sales team together with King's Sports Center. I want to give you a $100 gift certificate. Listen, maybe it's a way for you to get started on your exercise, to appreciating that the true measure of your wealth is in your health. And there are great things up there. It's conveniently located. Maybe you do it before you come into work. Maybe you do it in your lunch hour. Maybe you do it in the evening after you go home and come back out, or even before you head home, you stop and you get your exercise on. Well, I was thinking about how best, to present this $100 gift certificate, compliments of King's Sports Center. Maybe we'll take a call. It inspires us. Maybe we'll ask for a particular number. It's going to be, something just to say thanks. Let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Just want to tell you thank you, too.
You're most welcome. How are you?
Not too bad. Thankful.
Amen, amen. We are indeed,
Thankful. Last night I was watching a Christian program, and it had a doctor on there talking about the coronavirus and the vaccine and so forth, Wow, it was something to listen to. And he was stating that, women that have to do a mammogram shouldn't do it less within a year time of taking that vaccine. I'm like, whoa, and I'm due for one next 2 weeks. So he said that he recommended mammograms for women that took the vaccine. It has to be like a year after the vaccine before they should do a mammogram. And he had a lot of good pointers last night there on that channel. I also went and Googled him and picked him up and so forth, and had some videos talking and so forth, and talking how dangerous the masks are. The masks are more dangerous on and it is off, But I can't go in all of it, but it was one story to listen to last night. Was very interested, So just want to share that with you, and just want to say that we thank Radio Cayman for putting up with us. Calling in every day, complaining, and cat seems to have something half the time to talk positive about, But it's still a great island, and I don't like when we call the island a country because I understand we're an island, but I guess we get crossed out sometimes with island and country.
Well, maybe that is something not just for, a discussion now, but as I listen to you, do we need, as you're sharing, to champion more what is, this country, this island, this nation, these times bring out in our people, sometimes not always the good. And as you shared, we may question and complain, or comments sometimes may not always be constructive. But what is it that we are failing to recognize and acknowledge? Is it that we're taking for granted the freedoms that we've enjoyed to date? Last year may have.
I think we're taking it. Everything for Cayman has been taken for granted. Everything, because we call it paradise at first. Now we got to call Cayman kind.
Right.
And it seems like we have come to the point that we got to make everybody happy and make ourselves miserable.
But as I listen to you, we talk about, things in a way, and we are now, not only us as adults and as parents, but we are hearing it in our children. We're bantering about words that aren't so casual. Now, I know many will say, oh, you shouldn't call it house arrest. Well, it is a prison. That's a corporate prison where people have gone to for a couple of weeks at a time. It's no different than Her Majesty's, prison over there. You try to leave that facility before your time under any circumstance and see what happens to you. Look at the legislation that is in place that says what consequences would be should you not abide by the orders given to you. Maybe the prisoners are treated better because they're given the opportunity to get outside in the yard to be exercised. You don't go out in there, right? and more importantly, right, look at what is happening with the terminology. From there, you're being released. Hey, animals and prisoners are released, right? Now, thankfully, there's a civility in our populace which contributed to the significant success that we've enjoyed, but we're taking too much for granted. We're letting people lord it over us. We say our borders are closed, yet flights come in daily, and there are more and more people here, and people with significant wealth. Now, is that displacing the populace relative to the prices for our foods and the properties? I mean, it's not all bad, but are we cognizant of what is transpiring?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Let me tell you something. I'm crossing a police officer. Okay, no.
Hey, you know what? They're human too. Thankfully, a lot of them are really good.
Yeah. One day last week I was going home on Shamrock, and the police was down on the trying to catch people, and two vehicles behind me was constantly flashing all the coming cars because that police up ahead, and I was so appalled to know that one of them took it all the way into Savannah Primary School. Undespicable. And we say that our police officers are not doing their jobs, but if we're out there warning these guys, how can these officers catch you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, it is for us as a people to start to decide what is important. What is the moral consciousness? What is the ethos, the morals, the mores that should be pervasive in our society? And I say this, and people say, "Oh, you're looking out for this perfect ideal world." But if a society didn't have a need for armed police officers or police officers in general, or for prisons, we were reminded just this week, by a comment from someone who told us that it wasn't that long ago, that we didn't have that level of policing that we have now. A Canadian friend of mine has lamented, as has his American counterpart, as has a number of others, with the number of policing entities that exist there, from the private security to the ones that are paid for from the public coffers. Are we more highly policed? Is it a higher per capita per police? Are we at the risk of being a police state? Now, we can't expect the police, not to do the job if we as citizens are misbehaving.
Yeah. Tell me about it. So, but I'm gonna let you go. But
yes, ma'am.
With you. I had my grandchildren this weekend, and I was kissing up the little girl, and the little boy said, "Granny, you don't kiss girls." I say, "You kiss girls?" I say, "She's my grandbaby. I guess I don't kiss her." He said, "No, Granny, girls don't kiss girls." And I'm like, "Whoa." He's only 6.5 years old.
Don't turn on the TV too much, because that's what you see a lot of these days, Sorry.
Yeah, but he that's saying that girls don't kiss girls.
Yep.
You know where that's coming from, right? Yeah.
Boy, it's a sad state we find ourselves these days, boy. And you be safe, be always helpful, and always be blessed. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to take these children home now.
Safe drive.
So we'll talk soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Yes, bye. All right. Well, the phone lines are open. Let a line, and you can call and share your thoughts if you so choose. 949-8037, 949-8037, or 1-800-534-8255. Now, honestly, I'm very appreciative of that excellent job that the sales team continues to do. And in partnership with King Sports Center, we had a $100 gift certificate that we want to give to one of our listeners. Now, we can't ask you to sing. We won't ask you to do a headstand, nor 100 push-ups, or anything. But we want you to invest in your health, and here's a way to get you jump-started. Maybe you'll share it with someone that you think is equally deserving. So, what do you think, Miss Susan? Caller number 3? We'll call them now. If they call us up, we'll do it. Caller number 5, what do you say? I like 7. 10 is a great number as well. Maybe the caller who will sing a song or recite a poetry. maybe if the people would know what Susan's initial is, we could ask them to do that. What should we do? It's $100. I mean, some people have done. Oh, she says, come on, say that loudly. She's worth more than that. 949-837 or 1-800-534-8255. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Sterling. It's me again.
Welcome back, man. How are you?
Awesome, man. Awesome. Relaxing in style, you know.
Listen, we have to, we have to give thanks and, you know, anyway, we're reminded of it. So, what's on your mind, man? Talk to me.
Another thing, the weather, we need to be mindful of that because while it's showing that it might be pulling to the north of us, there's still a possibility because it's still a ways off that it could drop a little to the south.
Yeah.
And if it slows down, we could see intensification. So we can't let our guards down.
This is where I think, we benefit from a number of things. One, a country whose people are well seasoned and experienced when it comes to these things and respond appropriately and timely. Then we have a phenomenal organization that is hazard management and the Weather Service, the National Weather Service, under the exceptional leadership of Mr. Tibbetts, gives us the information that we need so we can act, appropriately. Now I'm hopeful, as you were sharing.
He does an extremely good job. I mean, I give him kudos because, but on the other hand, we still have to be mindful that,
Well, it is nature at hand, right? And what we need to be ever present in our minds is that we are somewhat, prepared. Our buildings are constructed to exacting standards. Our people certainly respond in kind, but there are new people who probably, don't know a hurricane from a Johnny cake.
Yeah, the thing is, we experienced Ivan. At least a lot of us have. But when you look at it, Ivan came on the south side. This one come on the north side. Could be a whole lot different in
impact.
Impact.
Well, this is, I think, why we subscribe to prayer, and many people may be dismissive. But also, I think, was it faith without works is dead? So we need to act, and we need to help ourselves and help each other. And hopefully, as we do that, we will give thanks, and as we prepare, we'll be willing to help so that we can share together.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Appreciate your thoughts, all right?
Not a problem. You take care.
Good to hear from you. All the best.
Yeah.
All right. Final break to take. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The HSA Specialist Clinic has relocated to a new, modern, state-of-the-art facility at Smith Road Center to offer you a better patient experience. Receive care from top specialists in chiropractic, complementary and alternative medicine, neurology, ENT, urology, pain management, and more. Our orthopedic and telemedicine clinics remain at the Cayman Islands Hospital campus. Please remember to bring your own face mask when visiting any HSA location. Visit our website, hsa.ky, to learn more. At the HSA, you matter to us.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It's an open line for the remainder of the program. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Is this Mr. Sterling?
Yes, sir. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, I'm calling from the United States of the Caymans.
That's probably what it'll be soon.
And I got a song for you.
All right. Let's hear it, man.
Yeah. They say I'm crazy, but I really don't care. 'Cause I love Beyonce. They say I'm nasty, but I don't give a damn. Loving Britney is a good thing. How about Rihanna? She's a fine-looking girl.
But I tell you what, man, some people's not just expressiveness and their willingness to share. My friend, a voice like that, man, should indeed be on the radio. Hey, thanks for that. Let's take the other call. You got another call, Miss Susan? All right, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Right here. I'm missing my beloved townhouse. I just wanted to mention her name.
Okay.
No, thank you. Bye.
That's it.
I'm missing my beloved townhouse. That's something that you set up out there.
Yeah?
You did not ask me any questions, and you didn't include me at all. But anyhow, I just want to say I'm missing my beloved townhouse.
You know what I should do, though? I mean, if you would only... I don't know if we can afford to pay you, so you have to be, one of those generous benefactors. But you could come in one day and host it, so I could, take a time off.
No, I can holler some names out to the single mothers who went every day, morning and evening, and we learned to care about our beautiful town hall. Don't waste that. Everybody got to get some. We learned to be careful. We learned to be thoughtful, and there I learned that the neighbors next door mattered. A friend of mine was sharing with me this morning. Oh, he said we went with a bucket. Okay? And I know you couldn't go home with a spilled cup. It would be a problem. So I'm just remembering my beloved town hall, especially at this time of the year, kind of weather pending about the place. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a 55-gallon drum. with the cloth, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm just thinking of my beloved town hall. Yeah.
Ah, boy. How we fail to appreciate the significance of those times, huh? Well, bye-bye. 949-8037-1-800-534-8255. Next caller, let us, if you so inclined, bless you with a $100 gift certificate, compliments of King Sports Center, and part of our, phenomenal sales team continues to work diligently. I mean, Radio Cayman reaches the widest audience in this country, bar none. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Not saying that shamelessly. It's just the reality. So 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, and share your thoughts with us. Now, the weather, for the next few days, we'll monitor it. And as we go through, the rest of the year and into December, of course, Mother Nature dictates the clock, but we somewhat arbitrarily signal that, hurricane season ends the 30th of November. Let's prepare, let's plan, and let's ensure that we are working together. Let's not get scared, become so afraid that we become paralyzed, but we act together beforehand. Let's go to the phones. Welcome, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you?
Not bad, thanks. How are you?
Great. Well, before you start, would you be willing to receive a $100 gift certificate, compliments of King Sports Center?
Yeah, yes, I would. Thanks.
All right, man. Well, I know that, whether you or someone that would be deserving could certainly benefit. So we would love very much to bless you with that if that is possible. Yes, thank you for receiving it.
Thank you.
All right. And now, do not disconnect so we can get your details, and it will be here for you to collect. But while you're online, is there anything that you may want to share with us?
No, I just, yeah. So with this storm approaching, and it does not look like it's anything of the magnitude that Ivan or Paloma were, but I hope that it kind of serves as a reminder for us to act the way we did after the passage of those two storms. Come work together as a community and consider the other people around you and help out and be more neighborly. So.
Yes. I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I hope that we would recognize that maybe because of all that is going on in our lives, that maybe some of us still aren't in that mental space where we are as focused as we normally are. Maybe we're still a bit, skittish, if I would say. We're a little bit, hesitant, tentative, a bit, maybe unnerved, as it were. And so something like this, even though it's, prayerful will amount to nothing, it could give us a bit of a jolt. But your words are poignant in that we should not take for granted what Mother Nature can unleash. And so let's not be foolish in our preparations nor in our response, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Please stay on the line. Let Ms. Susan get your details. It is a $100 gift certificate, compliments of King Sports Center and our phenomenal sport sales team here. It will be out front at our reception for you to collect at your earliest convenience. Use it up in this month of July. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, man. Most welcome.
Have a good day and God bless.
Amen, brother. God bless. This is what I like about where we live, and there are little things we can do, not only to say thanks, but to show love and appreciation. We make many missteps. We misspeak, miscalculate, and sometimes we malign. But maybe we can find ways to show our love and appreciation, to be sincere in our actions and endeavors, and perhaps, through thick and thin, we'll appreciate what's the value from within. Well, Ms. Susan, the song that we've queued up, for our listeners as we close out the program. Today is a Thursday. Monday coming is our Constitutional Day holiday. I've been very, very, very grateful to get the day tomorrow and Tuesday off. Michael McLaughlin has been gracious in sitting in for me, and I thank him very much. So I would invite you to join him tomorrow and again on Tuesday. Enjoy your Monday holiday. Please join Mr. Art in the morning for the record and come back for Talk Today. Michael McLaughlin will host for me while I, take a little jaunt here and there. But this song, is a phenomenal song. I like it. Hope you enjoy it as much as I do. She's royal.
Natural beauty, Yeah, no, I've never been someone shy until I seen your eyes. Still I had to try, yeah. Oh yes, let me get my words right and then approach you. Woman, I'll treat you like a man is supposed to. You'll never have to cry, no. I know everyone can relate to when they find a special someone. And she's royal, yeah, so royal. And I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so one of a kind, no. The way she moves to her own beat, she has the qualities of a queen. She's a queen. Ooh, ooh, what a natural natural beauty. No need no makeup to be a cutie. She's a queen. She's a queen. And when they ask what a good woman's made of, she's not afraid and ashamed of who she is. She's royal, yeah, so royal. And I need her in my life. I never knew anyone so one of a kind until the night that I seen her rise. My queen, so supreme. I can see it in her eyes, the way she smiles. Hey, yes I and I know the king and queen crown same time. So I'd never leave your side. Just stick with me through the trial times. Oh, and she says she no mind. Correct, I know good man is hard to find. And she can't about that shine no line. That's why she has no ties at this time. Yeah, I know many men are trying, but she needs to be more than wine and dine, because she's royal, yeah, so royal. And I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so divine.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. And Royal Fidelity Bank and Trust, money at work.